Okay, so we're going to put together a demo on the BluVac LTE. And I've already got the coupler on, and we use Nylog on there. And anytime you do a vacuum setup, I recommend that you use Nylog because it helps with your connections to help seal them properly. So during a decay test, you're not pulling in air under a deep vacuum on your fittings. Okay, so we're pulling a vacuum on the cylinder. I have this valve open, but I have this one closed at the moment. I haven't exposed the BluVac to the pressure in the bottle because I wanted to show you what high P means. High P will read on the BluVac when we're over 25,000 microns. Okay, and if we stay in high P for over 5 minutes, the BluVac will go to sleep and it will preserve your battery power for up to 300 hours. So that's what the high P means. We're over 25,000 microns at the moment. When we open this blue valve, we should drop pretty quick. There we go. So I've been pulling a vacuum on this bottle for quite a bit, and we've dropped down quite fast. So I've got the backlight turned on so you can see the difference between this shot and the last shot of how bright the backlight is. If we move on to the vacuum coupler, it's on a 45-degree angle. It keeps the gauge upright. We keep it upright to avoid system oil from getting inside and contaminating the gauge. Now, what's cool about this gauge is that if it does become contaminated, there's an indicator that tells you it has become contaminated, and it will prompt you to clean out the gauge. So one thing you should do after pulling a vacuum is perform a decay test. Now, the way you do that is you isolate the system from the vacuum pump, but you keep your gauge on and you watch for a rise in pressure. Now, you could have a slow rise that will flatten, a couple hundred microns, no big deal, but you could have a large rise, potentially because you have a leak or a lot of moisture in the system. If you have a big rise that just keeps climbing, then you need to figure out what's wrong. But if you have a slow rise of a couple of microns and a couple hundred microns and it flattens out, no big deal. So I'm going to perform a decay test on this bottle. Now, I've always thought this bottle had a leak. We're going to check for that right now. Okay, so the vacuum pump is off, and I've shut the valve off here, but I've left this valve open to the micron gauge. So we've raised a little bit, not too much. So the only way to tell if we have a leak in this thing is to leave this in a decay test for a short time and see what happens. So it's been about 20 minutes of a decay test, and we continually rise, gradually and slowly. Haven't flattened out whatsoever. Now, if this was a big system, I probably wouldn't be too concerned about it, but this is just a small recovery tank. I don't believe we should be having this type of rise in our micron reading. So I'm still leaning towards that this cylinder has a leak. I used my HVAC 6th sense in the past, but like I say on my podcast, once your HVAC 6th sense kicks in, verify with calibrated tools. Now that's what we're doing now. Now I think I got a small leak in this, but guys, that is the BluVac LTE. We keep it up on a 45 to keep system oil out. We have an oil indicator. We have a cool backlight. We have a sleep mode. There's a lot of other features, guys. So you guys should check it out. You guys can pick this up at TruTech Tools and save 8% on your purchase using promo code KNOWITALL. That's KNOWITALL. You guys have an awesome day. Happy HVACing.